So this is a really dangerous part about being an empath, right? Because we're so emotionally tuned to the world and other people. We kind of we don't it's really hard to have a strong sense of self, right? I want to fix this, maybe like lean it. Okay. It's like really hard to have a strong sense of self because you're so attuned to the world around you that usually you're not as attuned to yourself, right? So you can get caught in other people's orbit really easily, and before you know it, you're lost, you're gone. You don't have any groundedness. You're not firm on your own 2 feet in your own energy, right? Because different human beings, depending on their personalities and their energy levels, have strong orbits or weak orbits. So if you're, and that's what happens a lot of times. That's why empaths are usually codependent individuals, because they have a really weak sense of self, and they can get caught up in someone else really fast, and then all of a sudden your entire life revolves around a relationship or a job or a career or anything, in a situation, a problem that you're attending to. And so you got to be careful about that. You got to be aware. And on my channel, I preach self-awareness. As you're going through life, you just need to be aware of what's going on. Like, just ask yourself. It's so simple. Like, why is this happening? Am I the way that I am right now? Why did I do that? Why did I, just keep asking yourself those questions. You're going to start to uncover, get to the truth. And as you start to do that, and you need to be consistent with this, you need to be determined with it. You need to have, the dedication to it. This isn't something you do once or twice and it's done. This has to become your entire life. Now, for most people, like they just like to come on YouTube and watch a couple feel-good videos and then go back to keep doing what they're doing, which is fine. Nothing wrong with that, keep trucking along. No issues, but if you're actually trying to self-actualize and be really grounded in yourself as an empath and a highly sensitive person, while still being able to basically that inner stability, confidence, and having your own orbit, yet you're still able to authentically connect and have compassion and empathy for human beings, like, you realize how much power that can give you to help people and how much of a peace of mind that gives you. Like, yeah, like you're gonna have to make that decision if that's what you want, right? But for me, for example, right, we'll do me. I used to have I had a really weak orbit, no orbit, and I'd get caught into other people's orbits, and that was why I was a codependent in a relationship, as I said. And then, but I realized, like, after a certain point of it happening, like, enough times in life, or even if it was friends, I'd get caught in the orbit of, like, super, narcissistic friends, and I didn't even know that they were narcissists. I thought that's just how people were, but for some reason I gravitated toward those individuals because they had a strong orbit and I didn't. That's why you gravitate toward narcissistic individuals, and a lot of times as an empath, right? Or just any situation that has a lot of energy, right? You get pulled into that energetic situation. And so for me, it happened for a couple decades where I was just getting pulled into this because I know I've said this before, like the entire situation, relationship, or that orbit became my entire life, right? But then as I started to become more grounded in my spiritual nature, because I was doing the introspection and I was constantly asking, like, why things were the way they were, and I was starting to realize, like, wow, because I'm getting caught up in people's orbit, don't have a strong sense of self because I don't prioritize my sense of self. I didn't prioritize myself. Like, I was super hard on myself. I was always telling myself I wasn't good enough, and I needed this other person and this validation from everything outside of myself to be important. And I wasn't enough if I didn't have that. And so I constantly seeked it out and put myself in these situations. Basically, having other people tell me how I needed to live my life or what I needed to do. And what's funny is you're probably sitting there laughing, oh, well, I don't do that and stuff, but like, are you sure? Because it can happen without you even knowing it. That's the funny part. And so how do you ground yourself in who you are? That's the big question of the day, isn't it? So you need to start prioritizing your own sense of self. You need to start developing, it all starts with boundaries. It starts with self-care. It starts with the introspection, and it starts with meditation. You do that stuff. You just attempt to do this stuff. Just attempt it. If you don't even know where to start, that's fine. Just start. If you start doing it, and as time goes on, you're going to become more self-aware. You're going to become more self-realized, self-actualized. Then you're going to start to develop, or not even, it's already there. You're going to start to uncover that sense of self, right? That's when you start to develop your own orbit. That's when and ironically enough, like, I realized as an empath, like, because I asked myself, and again, I'm just asking myself all these questions, right? Like, why do I latch on to people? Why am I so sensitive to the world around me and sensitive to the emotions around me? Well, when I was a child, my safety depended on me reading my caretaker's moods. I had a really messed up situation with my dad, and when me and my sister would go down there, like, he's an alcoholic and all this stuff, like, his mood would just fluctuate all the time. So we had to be extremely read on to his behaviors, his moods, and his patterns and his energy, so that we would stay safe. Not that we were physically abused or any of that stuff. I mean, but like, yelled at, or like treated, not fed or treated badly and stuff. And so I kind of realized. And then when I healed that wound, because I became aware of it, right? I did the introspection through the meditation. I became aware of it, right? That's all spirituality is, a lot of times, is awareness to self-actualization. When I became aware of it, right, I still did the same stuff. It didn't fix the problem, right? But when I became aware of it, that's when I started to eventually get sick of it. I'm like, man, I don't really want to live my life like this anymore. And that's when you let things go. That's when you surrender. Spirituality is about awareness and then surrendering and letting go. It's what it is. But you can't just surrender or let go whenever you want, because you might not be ready to surrender or let go. Your life needs to get bad enough to where you get sick of living the way that you're living. When you finally get sick of living the way that you're living, that's when you start to let go. That's when the magic happens. And then pretty soon, you're going to start to develop your own orbit. It's pretty cool stuff, And ironically enough, like, I really just kind of naturally stopped, like, taking on people's emotions so much, because I just didn't really feel the need to. I was more, I was more tuned into my own feelings and my own emotions and how I was feeling, right? And it really just, oh my God, like, the inner peace and the stability that it creates is just, there's nothing that tops it. There's nothing in the world that you could get, no person you could hang out with, no amount of money you could get, no situation you could get in life that tops that peace of mind and stability in being okay with your authentic self. And I'm not even saying I'm perfect, because, like, I've said this before, like, be careful, like, don't fall into the trap that people that you're watching are perfect, because they might act like it, but they're not. So, what's perfect? You being your authentic true self. That's what's perfect, because that's how God created you. It's, or the universe, however you want to call it. We'll just call it God, but that's how God created you, and that's how you were meant to be. All right. Now, you can still have your gifts as an empath, and the ability to be extra sensitive and, be able to help people compassionately and stuff, but the journey never ends. But you just do it less and less. That's when you become stable inside. All right. So I hope everyone has a great day, and I'll talk to you soon. All right.